When you think about history's greatest leaders, you probably picture someone bold, ready for action, right? Well, today we're diving into an origin story from the book of Exodus that completely flips that script. This isn't about a hero who's eager for glory. Nope. This is about a guy who was chosen for a massive, world-changing job and wanted absolutely nothing to do with it. And it all kicks off with this simple, desperate plea.
Just let that sink in. Please send someone else. This one line, it just cuts right to the heart of the whole thing. The guy who's supposed to free an entire nation from the most powerful empire on earth basically looks up at God and says, you've got the wrong guy. It's incredible. Our story doesn't start with a bang or a heroic roar. It starts with someone begging to be left alone.
So that really sets up the big question for us today, doesn't it? How does that guy, the reluctant hero, the one filled with doubt, find the courage to go toe-to-toe with an empire? That's the journey we're going to trace. How he goes from please not me to standing face-to-face with a king.
All right, so let's get into it. Moses is just full of excuses, right? He's scared, and he definitely doesn't see himself as a hero. But he's about to be given some tools that are, let's just say, way beyond anything a normal person has.
So God gives Moses these 3 signs to perform. But these aren't just random magic tricks, They're loaded with meaning. First, the staff turns into a snake. That's a direct challenge to Pharaoh's own symbols of power. Then, he's given power over leprosy. That's a huge demonstration of control over life and disease itself. And finally, turning the Nile's water into blood, wow. That's a shot at the very heart of Egypt, its lifeblood and its gods. Every single one of these is a calculated, strategic display of power.
But even with these incredible supernatural signs on his side, Moses is still dragging his feet. He's like, but I'm not a good speaker, and he's just terrified of the whole thing. And you know what? His fear makes total sense. He grew up in Pharaoh's court. He knew firsthand just how absolute the king's power was, how massive his army was. This wasn't some abstract threat to him. It was very, very real. So what's the solution? A partner. God essentially says, okay, if you can't be the voice, I'll get you a voice. And in comes his brother Aaron, who's described as a really good speaker. Aaron will be the spokesperson. And this is so important because it sets up a key theme right from the get-go. This isn't going to be a solo mission. This whole massive undertaking is built on collaborative leadership. And just to give you a little context here, let's remember this guy's life story. His first 40 years, he's a prince in Egypt. The next 40 years, he's a humble shepherd living in exile. And now, at 80 years old, he's supposed to go back and confront the very empire he ran away from. And get this, he's going back with pretty much nothing but a shepherd's staff in his hand. What a journey. Okay, so armed with these divine signs, and with his brother Aaron by his side, Moses finally goes back to Egypt. And this leads us to the first big showdown.
And Pharaoh's reaction? It's instant. It's defiant. He doesn't just say no. He's basically like, Yahweh? Who's Yahweh? I don't know him. To Pharaoh, this is just some minor god of a nation of slaves that he's been controlling for centuries. It's a total dismissal.
Now, the Pharaoh we're talking about here is believed to be Amenhotep II, and this guy was young, he was powerful, and he was known for being incredibly stubborn. There was no way he was going to let his authority be challenged by a couple of old guys speaking for a bunch of slaves. And you have to understand, Pharaoh's refusal wasn't just about being a cruel bad guy. There was a logic to it, at least from his perspective. First, you've got religious pride. The nerve of these slaves making demands in the name of their god. Second, and this is huge, the economics of it. We're talking about a workforce of about 600,000 men. Losing that? Unthinkable for his building projects. And third, it was all about control. The thinking was, if you keep them overworked and exhausted, they won't have the time or energy to get any rebellious ideas. So yeah, that first meeting? A complete and total disaster. Instead of getting them closer to freedom, Moses and Aaron's request triggers this immediate, brutal backlash. The situation doesn't just not get better, it gets so much worse.
Pharaoh's payback is just strategically cruel. He tells the Israelites, okay, you still have to make the exact same number of bricks every day, but we're not giving you any more straw. And straw was a key ingredient, right? It was the binder that held the clay bricks together. Now, on top of their already backbreaking work, they had to go find their own.
So what does that actually look like? Well, think about it. Each worker was already on the hook for making something like 65 bricks a day. Now they have to hit that same quota and spend hours searching for and prepping their own straw. The
The workload just became absolutely crushing. It was an impossible task, and it was designed to do one thing: break their spirit.
And the people just snap. You can't blame them. Their suffering just got way worse. And so they turn on the very guys who were supposed to be their saviors. They start blaming Moses and Aaron. And this just sends Moses into a spiral. He cries out to God, basically saying, "Why did you even send me? Look at what's happened. All I've done is make everything worse."
I mean, this is the absolute lowest point of the story, right? The people have lost hope. Moses has lost hope. Everyone is in despair. But it's right here, in this rock-bottom moment, that the whole story pivots. And it all centers on this incredible divine revelation. So, how does God respond to Moses' cry for help? He reveals his personal name, Yahweh. And this name is a really big deal. It comes from the Hebrew word that means to be or to exist. So it means something like the one who is, or the self-existing one. See, this isn't just another title like God or Lord. It's a statement about his very nature, that he is eternal, that he is unchanging.
And the name itself has this fascinating little journey. Originally, it was just written with 4 consonants, YHWH, and it was considered so holy, so sacred, that people wouldn't even say it out loud. Instead, when they were reading, they'd substitute the word Adonai, which means my Lord. So what happened is, much later on, scribes took the vowels from Adonai and kind of blended them with the consonants YHWH, and that's how we eventually got the pronunciation we know today as Jehovah.
So why reveal this name, right here, right now? Well, it's a powerful promise. It's God's way of saying, hey, remember me. I'm the same God who made promises to your ancestors, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I am eternal. I don't change. And that means my promises, they still stand. And that revelation, that understanding of God's personal, unchanging nature, that's the anchor. It's what pulls this entire mission out of the pit of despair. It's a renewal of the original promise, and it gives them a solid foundation of hope, right when it seemed like all was lost. And tied directly to that name, Yahweh, are these core promises. It's like this 4-part declaration of intent. I will free you from your burdens. I will deliver you from slavery. I will be your God, and you will know that I am the one who did it. For people who felt totally abandoned, who were so crushed they literally couldn't even listen to Moses anymore, this was everything. This was a lifeline. And this brings us right back to where we started, with that theme of partnership. This whole mission was just too big for one guy. It needed Moses, the leader, and it needed Aaron, the spokesperson. And you know, this pattern of collaborative leadership, it's not a one-time thing. We see it pop up again and again throughout the story, with people like Joshua and Caleb, David and Jonathan, and Paul and Barnabas. Which kind of leaves us with a final thought to chew on. The story of the Exodus, it's so often told as the story of one great man, right? Moses the hero. But as we've just walked through, it all began with a hero who didn't want the job, whose reluctance could only be overcome through collaboration. So it really makes you wonder, when you're facing a truly impossible task, what's the most crucial ingredient? Is it that single heroic leader, or is it the power you find in a committed partnership?